Just wait for Jack. Maybe if you were a bit quieter, you'd be able to hear me. Is that okay? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Rob, thank you so much for your kind words. Obviously a bit of rinsing in there, but everyone loves that. My new wife, Jennifer Jane, and I... We would like to offer you our warmest welcome to our wedding. Sorry, warmest, if you didn't hear that. Welcome to our wedding. And please, I know you've just done a toast, but I'd like everyone to raise your glasses again, because my dad basically taught me that if all else fails, just get people to do loads and loads of toasts. And at least that'll keep them distracted. So, cheers! Cheers! And if you run out of champagne, just start drinking something else, I suppose, coffee or whatever. So, as I say, thank you everyone so much for coming. It really does mean so much that you've made it all this way. I know people have come from all over the world. Just off the top of my head, Dubai, Australia, Paris. Wait, even the sunny shores of Berwick-upon-Tweed. Where is he? Where is he? No. Is he too far gone already? Okay. So, my main job is to do the thank yous, so I'd like to talk about a few thank yous I've got to make. I will try to keep it relatively short, but as you can see, a huge amount of work has gone into making today happen, so it's definitely worth highlighting a few people's contributions. So to begin, Rob and Helen, my new parents-in-law. There really are so many things to say thank you for. I mean, even outside of this wedding, you know, as you said, putting up with me, living with you for a year. Rob even kindly lent me his bike to commute to work, which I then proceeded to run into the ground and sell for spare parts. Oh, apparently because of my weight, it wasn't designed for me. Thanks very much, my wonderful wife, for pointing that out. So I would really like to say thank you so much for opening your beautiful new home to us all. I think we'll all agree it's an absolutely wonderful setting for this fantastic occasion. Next, of course, is the huge amount of both time and, of course, money that you both spent on this wedding. I hope you think it was worth it. I know Jenny and I certainly do. So thank you.
Flooring.
Yep. Hard floor. That was the key. Finally, thank you so much for raising such an amazing daughter. I will elaborate on just how great I think she is later, but I would like to highlight one thing that really stands out to me. From a young age, Helen in particular has instilled a deep love of all things Disney into Jenny. So in celebration of that, my three brothers and I are going to be performing a four-part arrangement of Let It Go from Frozen. So really kick things off. Come on up, Chuck. Did you not get my email? Oh no! Sorry, folks. We'll have to do that some other time. Okay. Wasn't quite expecting that reaction. Okay, we really will have to do it another time. Maybe at the christening. That's not my way. It's not my way of announcing that we've got some news. Oh, blimey. Right. Okay. Yeah. So, continuing with my thank yous, I would also like to thank the wider Lee family for really welcoming me into their family. In particular, John and Elspeth, aka Gran and Gromps. I do really feel like I've been treated like another son, and now I kind of am. So, yet another toast to the Lees and their family. Moving on swiftly. I would also like to turn to the other side of the table and thank my parents, Dennis and Susan. Jen and Sue, as you know. So, in addition to the obvious fact that we should thank them for raising such a charming young man, aka living legend in myself, that kind of goes without saying. So their main contributions in terms of tonight, in addition to the huge amount of various Wedmen, etc. Oh yeah, Wedmen. That's the key word. So the drinks that you're all enjoying by the sounds of things, and our honeymoon. So I think we'll all agree they've done a great job on the booze, although I suspect that my dad enjoyed the bargain hunting and the booze cruise so much that not actually much thanking needs to be done there. So, so the honeymoon itself, we're really looking forward to. In case you haven't heard, although the vast majority of you have, because it's all we've been talking about, we're off to Indonesia for 3 weeks. So thank you very much. So a toast to the Barretts. We'll do that, we can do it. So next, I would like to thank the bridesmaids. So if you guys can make yourselves relatively visible, you don't need to stand up, but you've all done. Okay, stand up, bridesmaids, come on, you're all so beautiful. Give us a 12 beautiful dresses, looking gorgeous. So you really have all done an amazing job supporting Jen in the huge amount of work that went into putting today on. Especially Hannah and Sophia, who are the maid of honour and head bridesmaid, chief bridesmaid. It's difficult to keep track of which is which, but there is absolutely no difference between the two. Needless to say, they've both been absolutely fantastic. All you bridesmaids look absolutely beautiful today. Just one quick tip. Keep an eye out for the bloke at the back with the sort of dreamy eyes and the chin and the cheeky smile. He's basically a bit of a fiend. And it's not Stu Barkley, by the way. Even further back. Keep going, keep going. I thought he'd like that one. Anyway. So, again, moving on swiftly. A few other quick thank yous. I would really like to thank Emma Kingsman for doing the hair and makeup. Where is she? Give us a wave. I think they all look wonderful. Obviously, I think Jen always looks just beautiful, but it is so great to have a really professional job done. So some of you may have noticed a certain gentleman going around doing all the photography this evening. His name is Simon Ball, and he's been absolutely fantastic. He doesn't want any thanks for the looks of things, but I'd really like to say thank you so much for that. And also, he was responsible for the invitations, which we thought were absolutely beautiful, so thank you. And the menu. And the next on the list is his daughter, Charlotte. Where is she? There she is. Just a really quick thank you to say thanks so much for supporting Jen. The wedding favours that you've all got, she largely helped out with that. And
people thought they were new guys.
Oh, they're soaked, by the way, not edible. And also the pom-poms, which are mostly down that end, all down that end, but they're great as well. Next up, a couple of my brothers, Ed and Sam, for their contributions during the service. I know we all love the poem and the song, so thank you for that. The other thing I'd like to thank them for is taking the fact that I didn't choose them as best man so gracefully. Next up, just as we came into the marquee, we enjoyed an absolutely beautiful performance by Izzy and Charlie, which I'd like to say thank you for. And finally, I would like to thank Dan and it looks like Angus now as well for doing the videoing, which is really helpful as well. So, really sorry if I've missed anyone off. What?
Excuse me.
I'm sure there are so many others, but you must be so bored at this point that I should probably just crack on. So now for the really important bit, talking about my new wife, Jennifer Jane. First of all, I must say, Jen, you look absolutely beautiful today. Even though we've been together for nearly 6 years now. It still amazes me just how gorgeous you are. I'm so lucky to have you. When we first met, I was actually in a pretty rubbish place in my life, and I'd just dropped out of my second attempt at university. You'll all be hearing much more about this later, but despite somehow getting into Durham, which was fairly miraculous in itself, things still weren't looking great. I was starting to slip into some bad habits again.
World of Warcraft.
Missing lectures, video games, even gambling. I'm sure Jack will elaborate, but I just want to point out that Jen really helped and inspired me in so many ways. There's absolutely no way I'd have finished the course without you, and I literally owe you everything, so thank you. Jen, I love you so much, and I'm so happy to be spending the rest of my life with you. You're an incredibly kind and thoughtful person. You're one of the funniest people I know, which,
Seriously.
as you've heard, I have pretty high standards for. You work so hard in an amazing profession, making such a difference to so many children's lives. Shout out to the Gorringe Park girls at the back. I'm so proud to be married to you. So a toast to Jenny and to our marriage, and to everyone who contributed to making today so wonderful. Everyone, cheers. So you may have noticed that there was one person that I forgot to thank. I know my dad's trying to clap me off the stage here. There is one person I forgot to thank, who is the chap who will be speaking after me, Jack. Just should really quickly say a thank you for organising a trip to Benidorm, which the less said about that the better. And also coming along to my city stag last week and basically saving my life, because I was in a pretty bad way. So, without further ado, I'll hand over to Jack. Just please note, he has been known to exaggerate at times. So,
Jackie.
Hello, can you all hear me at the back? Brilliant. How do you follow that? Make them laugh, make them cry, make them laugh. Isn't that the technique?
Too much laugh, not enough.
Well, if you thought his speech was long, just wait for this one. I've got to say, firstly, I mean, wow. I mean, I've been to quite a few weddings before, but honestly, everything about today. Thank you, Reverend, for praying to the man upstairs to make sure that the weather, there was a brief eye in the storm that we got yesterday and tomorrow, so thank you very much for that. And this place is unreal. I mean, you probably won't get a chance to explore the house, but I mean, it keeps going for about 100 metres. So I would steer clear, because you will get lost and probably wound up dead in one of the rooms found in a few months' time. So steer clear of that. But clearly, Paul and I have very similar taste in women. Lots and lots to inherit. So, I'll get on to you. I mean, my only one bit of input for the day actually was the world's largest chocolate fountain, which was pretty quickly dismissed. So but I should say also, for those at the back that can't see very well, should have gone to Specsavers or maybe getting on a bit. No, Paul and Jenny didn't manage to book Prince Harry to do their best man speech. I am, in fact, Paul's younger, far more rugged, far more modest, more erudite younger brother. And yes, Paul, I just got erudite into the speech, which is your favourite word. Which says a lot, doesn't it? It literally seems like yesterday when Tambo, Jenny, Paul and I were all sat in Balham Pizza Express. Paul's choice, of course, no expense spared for this momentous occasion. And he asked me to be best man, and I mean, no one was more surprised than I was, and no one was more angry than Ed. But of course, being a classic boy and a classic Barrett, I had months and months to prepare, but left it all for the last couple of days, unfortunately. So where do you go for inspiration, and which Paul Barrett do you talk about? Do you talk about the gawky, arrogant gimp he was at school? Yeah. The disenfranchised waster he became in Nottingham? All the resounding success he's clearly become. If you've spoken to Dennis Barrett for more than 5 minutes tonight, he's probably told you that he's been best man at least 200 times before, so he considers himself a bit of an expert in the area. So, of course, he was my first port of call. It was fairly useless advice, actually, it turned out. I think it was something like, son, there's 2 important moments in a man's life. When he passes his driving test, and then he delivers a best man speech. And that was more or less it. Okay. Well, I nailed my driving test first time. I should admit, I did fail my theory test the first time. That took me 2 attempts. So it's not all easy going. But and being the young tech-savvy youth that I am, I obviously went to our good friend Google. And this is what the internet had to say. It said 7 minutes is optimal. I've probably already gone over that, and I definitely will go over that. Don't swear. Don't mention ex-girlfriends. And don't focus on the stag do or personal stories because it alienates the audience.
Oh.
So sorry, no Benidorm, I'm afraid. If only. But in all seriousness, there's not actually many funny stories about with Paul.
What a shame.
He's just too sensible. He goes 90% of the way, I've found. He's never quite finished his deal. I mean, I could tell you about the time when he was 4 years old and decided to express his independence by wandering off, much to my parents' dismay, in Disneyland, all by himself. Or the amazing amount of fun we seem to have by ourselves, this is going to sound really dodgy now, by ourselves in a vineyard in the middle of nowhere. But as Tambo has told me all week, these stories are shit. Sorry, no swearing, sorry. Speaking of Tambo, my lovely girlfriend, who has definitely asked me for a shout out tonight. And who has been a great help this week. She's the only person that is going to look bored because she's heard this speech far too many times. Yeah, thanks, Tambo. She has told me that I've got to keep it less than 45 minutes though. So, to keep you all happy and to keep you all drinking, I'll be making 3 toasts tonight. 3 seems to be a magic number with Paul. 3 brothers. 3 attempts at university. And of course 3 main women in his life. I am of course referring to his lovely, brand new, very shagadelic Jennifer Lee. Our equally shagadelic mum. And of course the girl who we try not to talk about too much because it turned out to be quite a destructive relationship for Paul, so we try to avoid the subject, but I am of course referring to Bazina, his level 70 dwarf paladin from World of Warcraft. So it's a real shame Bazina can't be here tonight. So I'm glad I gave her a shout out. Yeah. So my first toast tonight is to pride. So pride is an interesting one because it can be a good or a bad thing depending on the situation. One of the things I'm not proud of is at school, where I pretty unashamedly tried to emulate and copy everything this guy did. So much so that I ended up doing all the same extracurricular nonsense. I even did all the same A-levels as him. It's actually quite sad. That's right. And I remember, before we went to Cranleigh, in Texas, he was a fairly unremarkable guy. I mean, no offence, but... But when I got to school in the UK, he was really flying. Everything he touched turned to gold. On paper, he was the absolute dream. Academic, top of his class, music and drama. I won't bore you, you've seen we're a family of performers, and Paul is no exception to that. Even sport, despite appearances, Paul was known to, despite the hands and pace, I think that was the inside joke, despite the hands and pace, he was pretty good at rugby, and it's still surprising people on the golf course. or on the squash court, or whatever it is. And he's always been surprising people with all this raw talent. And the problem with being a brother is everyone always compares you, particularly when you're the non-event of the family, as Ed Barrett has kindly jumped in. For many years, the non-event. So I didn't get expelled, didn't get out of uni, and cheated on my girlfriend 100 times. But my pride, God, that's serious. But my pride in Paul was eclipsed by his own self-pride. At school, I mean, he had the talent, but he also had, you know, the arrogance to back it up. So, and unfortunately, any great lover of classics will tell you that hubris, it always comes back to bite you. And unfortunately, as Paul alluded to, like any young, talented man, ended up at Oxford, didn't go so well, ended up at Nottingham after that, licking his wounds. It was a pretty tough time for all of us, not least of all my mum and dad. And so, it makes us even happier now to see how far you've come. Durham obviously was a lifeline, and it was great to hear that he was surprising people again. I'm looking forward to your first dance later, because some of the Grey College contingent will know Paul has a secret knack for this dancing. I think he won in first year, wasn't it, the college-wide dancing competition. So yeah, there you go, Strictly Come Dancing, very cool. So looking forward to that later. Like I say, he was very humbled by the whole experience, and I think the quote from Dad is, it was the best thing that ever happened to him because he was such an arrogant bastard. Sorry. And more recently, I've been proud of Paul as well. Even last Thursday, when I was peeling him off the pavement, trying to stop him from throwing up the half a dozen shots of Samuel Bucher that he was forced to down onto his well-polished brogues. Even in that moment, I was pretty proud of the guy, because if they can punish you that much, you must be very, very popular. And while I'm on the subject of stag do's, it would be wrong of me not to say a few words about Benidorm.
Yeah, thank you.
I like it. Because I'm pretty proud, see, keeping with the theme, pretty proud of the beating he took in front of all of us.
Thank you. It's only got 3 minutes of battery.
I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell the story. Do you want to hear the story? So we paid for 2 shows, a private and a public group showing. And I should say, Rob, it's really good you weren't there for the second night, because you would never let this boy anywhere near your daughter ever again, having witnessed what I witnessed that night. It was meant to be a show for the stag and one for the best man, but me being the coward I am decided to let Paul do both. Basically, long story short, got him completely naked, which I thought was pretty bad value for money, because I was hoping to see some tasty ladies naked, not his fluffy fat ass. Got him completely naked, proceeded to beat the crap out of him with his own belt. I mean, he literally couldn't sit down for weeks. And then they only stopped doing that so they could tie the belt around his neck and lead him around the club, completely naked. It was brilliant. And there's even rumours going around of stilettos being shoved in places they shouldn't have been shoved, but it's all rumours, there is no truth to it, so we'll leave it at that. I'm also proud that he nearly managed to beat me at the go-karting, so well done. But anyway, that's it for Pride, so please raise your glasses to these two who are both very proud of. To Paul and Jenny.
Paul and Jenny.
Okay. To press the red button.
It's a lot more pleasing now. Got through that. My second toast. I told you it was a long one. My second toast is to apathy, or not giving a crap. So Paul, obviously being a very talented guy he is, he never really had to care much about what he was doing. And this translates to quite an easygoing, chilled out guy with a pretty good sense of humour. But unfortunately, if you chat to any of his good mates now, And I'll tell you that his first impressions are awful. They all hated him when they first met him. Other ways this is translated, his eating habits, we've already heard. I think in the prime of his slobbery in Nottingham, he'd wake up, get up early, do a few stretches, get his gaming hand going, and have his pot of mayonnaise and a few blocks of cheese ready to go. Maybe a knife, maybe not. And yeah, proceed to feed himself the duration of the day. I think it's upgraded now to carrots and hummus, which is a significant improvement. But still, I think this morning we're having a debate, this is how interesting our lives are, between what's better, sugars or fat. God knows, living with Ed and Sam, this is what we talk about apparently. I think Paul's one contribution was it's all about fats. Fats are your friend. That's why I try and have a pork pie every day. Right, okay. So shedding for the wedding was always going to be difficult. But Jenny, however, did shed for the wed and did a very good job. Did you know the definition of best man is actually the next best man to marry the bride? If the groom doesn't turn up or dies or whatever, it would have been my job. And let me say, it's a job I would have been very, very happy to do tonight. Doesn't she look absolutely incredible? It's I do feel for these Barrett wags, or wives and girlfriends for the non-footballers amongst you.